Good evening, Todd Babington. This afternoon, or this evening, I should say. It's a late one. 20 past 11. I'm a little bit late for Alistair Casey, who's in Los Angeles. How exotic is that? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm hiding in my garden because it's the only safe place to be with a 3-year-old at home and a wife.
And this is your garden, is it?
This is my yard.
Your yard. Is that what they call it? Is it? If it's got grass, it's a garden in my eyes. So you're telling me about running. You've been taking up running. Have you always ran?
Well, I haven't taken up running. I mean, I've always ran to support my fitness for badminton. I've always been a bit of a runner. What were we talking about? You say you go hill running in Scotland, and then I was saying being the Scottish guy that's here, you're like, what height of mountains? I mean, Ben Nevis, 4,000 feet, yeah. And I've been a stupid Scottish guy, not, completely respectful for what the altitude can do to you. We drove once from here, 45 minutes from LA at sea level up to Crystal Lake. So it's a 45-minute drive to 5,400
wow.
feet. Straight up. And then you could just go running around that area. Even at that level, you've got about 8% less oxygen on your SpO2 meter. But my buddy Chris, who goes up there all the time, he's like, let's go running. So there's a mountain there, Mount Islip,
right,
which is at 8,000 something feet. So we ran from Crystal Lake campground area at 5,500 feet to the top of Mount Islip and back down again. This is like 6-7 years ago. So I was still playing tournaments. Thought this would be a good idea. And then as we came down, then we get in the car and we go straight back down to sea level. And I was coaching that afternoon. And I'm coaching a 64-year-old lady at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
How far is it? You're going all that high?
It took us. It's I don't know. It was over 10 miles.
Yeah.
But the elevation was just
exactly
straight up. It's just stupid. And
I don't think it's really running. I mean, everybody keeps on saying to me, and I'll say to the wife, Becky, it's not really running. I'm kind of questioning. On the way up, it's pretty much like fast hiking. I can't run. It's so steep. I can't run physically.
Running. now you've downgraded to fast hiking.
Well, I actually call it when I leave with Strava. I just say I'm walking, because I can't be bothered with all the stats that Strava comes up. But I change it when I'm finished to a run. But mostly on the way up, I'm pretty much walking like the 500. Don't get me wrong. I get to the top. There's about 150 meter climb, pretty much straight out the door, right up. And it's literally, it's very, very steep. If you look at the elevation on Strava, it's like that. And then you get to a kind of a level, and then I jog, but yeah, I do love it. I actually really, it's lovely, isn't it? And it's nice. Is it very rural where you are? That it's not city life at all, is it?
Oh, well, obviously LA is, but where we go to, you're going straight into the hills, so nice. it's remote. I mean, and even at that height, the funny thing about not being respectful for the altitude is you run, even now we run for 2 minutes, and then we're out, and then we're walking a bit. But the first time I ever did it, the story's hilarious because I came down, and this lady I was coaching at 3 p.m, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, I had a migraine coming on or whatever. And it's the first time.
Altitude sickness.
I did. I literally did. She said, "Give me your car keys." And I'm driving. So it was my girlfriend at that time, now my wife. She took me to her house in West Covina, and I at that point I was white or whatever. And then I was in the house, massive headache. I threw up. My nose was bleeding a little bit. Straight up, true story. My wife's like, "What did you do today?" And I was like, I ran to like 8,000 feet and then went straight down to zero again, all in the space of about 4 hours. And yeah, I was.
And your buddy does it all the time, does he?
Once you start doing it regularly, your body can kind of cope with it. But I mean, sometimes I go up now, and we still do it, and it's you're okay, and then sometimes you go up and you're just completely dying.
You can't do the temperature. I mean, you tell me yesterday it's like 40 degrees, right? You can't run in that, can you? Not right now.
Oh, I do. I go running around the neighborhood here in Pasadena. I'll go out and run like 10K, but 6.2 miles.
What's the humidity like, Alistair?
It's not too bad where I'm at, but I ran last year at one point. I do it for stupidity. You feel good after, but I ran one day and it was 112.
Wow.
Which is stupid. So you're in the 40s, And then I came home and I literally stood in the garden and turned the sprinklers on
Yeah,
because
nice.
I was like dying. I was like, oh.
I've run in Greece before, and I quite like it. When, with running, it's like cycling. The breeze goes, it creates a breeze, doesn't it? When it's airless, and I mean, I've run in Greece. I just go out early doors in the morning, and it can be absolutely sweltering. But I quite like it. I love it. I love getting out, isn't it? So let's go. I'm going to get on with the questions now, because otherwise I'm going to be here with you all night. So I don't want to take up your whole afternoon, I should say, for you. So,
only taking up your evening. I can talk all day.
I know. I'm quite happy as well. To be fair, I was flagging a bit earlier. I swam for the first time. The pools have just opened here, and I swim a bit. And I did 90 lengths yesterday, and I haven't swam this year really. And I just went, and I thought I've been doing it. I'd normally do 100 twice or 3 times a week, and yeah. So, but I thought it just opened on Friday there yesterday, and I just went yesterday. Last night, about 5:15 last night, and I managed 90 lengths, but I was just exhausted. Absolutely takes it out of you. Swimming's good. I love. Do you swim much? I guess you.
No.
I guess you got a pool over there, have you?
Not like that. Not like that. I don't go swimming for cardio.
Do you not? No, I love it. I actually love it. I went to swimming clubs as a child, and yeah, it's good. It's really good exercise. I couldn't do front crawl but June of last year. I couldn't do front crawl at all. So I've learned a whole new thing, and now I'm just, yeah. It's funny. I was talking to the wife about it. It's really. I don't know if you're like what you're like with running. It's really mathematical. My thinking on it. It's like I'm trying to do 100, right? So I get to 10, and I think, okay, that's 10%. And then I get 15, I think, oh, that's 20%. And then 20%. And then up to 33. 33 is a third, right? You're a third of the way there. And then you aim for 50, and that's you kind of halfway. And then after 50, for some 51, you're like, oh, okay, I'm past halfway now. And then it's 66 is 2/3. Then 75 is 3/4. And that's how it works. It's still all I do is swim up and down thinking about maths. That's all I do. That's how I.
It's called survival. That's you just trying to talk your way through.
It really is. It really, like 50. Getting to 50 is a slog. I thought I could stop at 50, and then I thought, oh, I'm past halfway now, and it's just a mechanism, isn't it? It's no, I love it. I really like swimming. It's the only thing. I guess it's. With running, you still see people, and you still kind of, you see people, and you've got to nod and acknowledge or whatever. But swimming is totally on your own, right? You're totally in your own space. All you've got is your own thoughts. You don't. I went swimming last year, and I swam for an hour solid, and I got out of the pool, and I was in the shower, and one of my best mates was standing next to me. He said, "Hey, I've just been overtaking you for the last hour. Didn't even know it was him." So let's go on the questions. Your full name is it Alistair Casey?
Well, yeah, Alistair, Thomas, Mark, Casey, but Alistair Casey's fine.
Yeah, no, Thomas, Mark. Where did those names come from?
Good Catholic boy in Glasgow.
Really? Boy with all the. Yeah, is it a Catholic thing having middle names? Is it?
Yeah, you get well, first of all, they're both saints, and Thomas was given to me by my mum and dad, and then Mark was taken when you do your confirmation around primary 6. So you confession, communion, and then confirmation. So you take an extra name.
Are your family very religious still? Are you very religious?
No,
right.
But as are most people in Glasgow, you're either going to the Catholic school or the Protestant school.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm from Northumberland, and it's just not a thing. I would never ever think of it. And to be fair, I don't really think of it much in Scotland. I work in Livingston, and I deal a lot with Glasgow and that kind of thing. But it's funny, isn't it? I think it's.
Have you not been to Glasgow?
I reckon I've been to Glasgow once.
If you go to Glasgow more often, you'd get it.
No, really? What really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's the old Billy Connolly joke? Are you a Catholic or a Protestant? And he goes, well, I'm a Jew. And he goes, wow, are you a Catholic Jew or a Protestant Jew? I think it's a Billy Connolly joke. And that is Glasgow for you.
True. What age are you, Alistair?
I am now 40.
When did you turn?
What's that?
When did you turn 40?
February 23rd.
Congratulations. How did that feel?
I don't know, like 29, like 39. That's the worst year. You're like, fucking hell.
No.
And then you turn 40 and you don't give a shit anymore. So I'll be expecting more of this at 49.
I agree. I've just turned 50 in December, and I was the same. And do you know, when I was 48, 47, 48, 49, I think subconsciously I was a different person because I was kind of really questioning everything I did, and I'm not happy with this, I'm not happy with that, and I'm not happy with this. And I'm really I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but I was definitely crabby. And then when I turned 50, you just have a thing, well, done now kind of thing, and that's it. I think that it brings peace.
You realize at that point you actually didn't have any control, and just get on with it.
Yeah, you are.
You thought you had control unconsciously before,
but you question what you've done in your life. Don't you think these points in your life? You think, what have I done? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Don't you think?
I didn't go through that. I just I'm getting old. I don't want to get old.
Are you still quite young at heart? Do you think, dear?
Yeah. Try to be the stupidest person in the room.
I agree. I'm in sales, and I went on a course, and the guy said, really, you want your salespeople to be like children. You want them to be excitable. You want them to be enthusiastic. You want them to be passionate, and you don't want them to be too deep thinking. You just want them to go out and be all positive all the time, right? And so I am a little bit like that. I'm a bit, I think I frustrate a lot of people. I've got a lot of friends who are, people have got really professional jobs, really serious jobs, and I'm just a silly guy. I've done it for 30 years, and I'm still like a child. I really should grow up at some point. I should get a proper job.
As long as you're making your money.
Well, you just do what you do, don't you? That's all I know now. At this point, you say, oh well, might as well stick with it. You're worth most in what you do all your life, isn't it? You've obviously done well for yourself in badminton. See, have you been a professional badminton player all your life?
No, I mean, I merged a lot of jobs. So, coming out of school and not wanting to go to uni, not because I wanted to. I would love to. People would love to tell you it was because I was going to be focused on badminton, but it wasn't. It was because I felt that if I played. If I went to uni, I wouldn't be able to play badminton. But I mean, I went to work part-time in a sports shop in the Kelvin Hall in Glasgow, and kind of just kept trundling on. But then, I worked a lot of jobs to support trying to play badminton.
I think that's a common thing, Alistair. I think that's common.
Well, I kind of, I don't know. I didn't feel it at the time, but I perfected the way of doing it in a way, because I ended up working in the pub trade in Glasgow, and like working first of all as a bar staff around 2002, 2003, and then somewhere around about 2004, 2005 I was running bars. Then I owned my first bar come 2006, and I was still doing that whilst I was multitasking, playing, and I was making enough money. I could then go, right, you know what, I can give myself the holidays because I'm in charge.
Yeah. And
I started doing that, but it was a lot of trial and error, and then 2007, I owned a big Celtic bar, fairly well known in Glasgow, called McCule's.
Right.
The first year that Celtic came back and won the league, so it was crazy. We were making so much money, and I literally, at that point, it was getting a bit too tough even for me. I was about 25, 26 to kind of merge the two, because you're just
getting busier all the time. You always need to go
and you can't work in a bar and not get drunk. I mean, that's the whole point of working in a bar. But I mean, just crazy stories, like people driving cars through your front door. I mean, I lots of crap, lots of people, lots of stories. But I literally, at the end, I gave myself an exit strategy, and I bought a one-way ticket from Glasgow 3 months before I planned to leave, and I gave the mortgage back to the guy, the lease back to the guy, and I went one-way ticket to New Zealand.
No way.
And then went straight from working and running bars to running high performance badminton in Auckland and in the North Shore of New Zealand.
And did you go to that? Did you know that was there? Did you?
I set it up. I was running this last bar with my brother, and I always had I'm always quite good at having a kind of situational awareness, planning ahead. And I was like, we are never going to get out of this if we don't just. I'm very decisive on certain things. Even if I don't know where it's going, I make decisions.
Yes.
So I was like, this is not my whole original end goal was to, again, just to facilitate enough money to be able to support my badminton. But there was what happened. I got a job offer to actually was a bit odd. I got a job offer to basically run Badminton Oceania, or be the continental person in charge of Badminton Oceania, which at that point was much more underdeveloped. And then
Sorry, what
a
is
friend
that? What is that, Alistair? What is Badminton Oceania?
Badminton Oceania is the continental, like Badminton Europe, Badminton Pan Am, Badminton Oceania.
Okay.
They're the continent for Australia, New Zealand, all the others.
I see.
So I had a colleague that offered me, pretty good position there, and then my friend from New Zealand, who was running a club, she said, "Look, don't do that. You'll never be able to play badminton. Come and be the head coach at our club, and we'll still allow you to travel and play tournaments. You can go as much as you want, as long as you're still here." So it was great in the sense that I was working as the head coach there in North Harbour, but I was off playing like Super Series, Hong Kong Super Series, China Super Series, all sorts of stuff.
Living the dream.
Bouncing back.
What age were you then?
I did that 27 through 30, 31, like 26 through 30.
Brilliant.
And then I came to America in Los Angeles when I was in 2011. So nearly 10 years ago now. So August.
Where did that come from? How did that move come?
Yeah, again, just badminton generally worldwide. Jobs are hard to come by. I mean, people who we're more people than jobs, and then so we kind of lost quite a lot of our funding at the club. There was restructuring going on, more work for less money, and it was just the time to try and leave and go somewhere else. And I didn't even intend really to come to US. First thing I was doing actually was I left New Zealand to fly back to Scotland because I was playing in the World Championships in England in 2011 in London, and then I'd stopped off in LA on the way and ended up playing some matches, meeting some people, and then they said, "Well, if you don't have an actual plan, you should come back here and coach." But I didn't really plan on being here. I just knew I didn't want to go back to Scotland because I don't like going backwards. But I will say I didn't have a master plan to come to America. So I ended up here a little reluctantly. I actually would have stayed in New Zealand. It's just that and I miss New Zealand. I'm the Scottish guy who's homesick for New Zealand, who's now an American citizen. Kind of odd, but I ended up here because I didn't want to go back to Scotland because I didn't think that was. I mean, there's things I know what you mean. What are you going to do?
I know exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
And end up running another nightclub, which it's not something that at that point I wanted to do. I'm always about progress.
Yeah, I think it's.
I'll go back to Scotland and run a nightclub.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I ended up. You're obviously a very sociable guy, which is what I am, and I ended up in bars and working bars, and then somebody said to me, "Oh, you should go into sales," and I went into sales, but I was the same as you. I think you've kind of followed that path of a lot of people that said, I don't know what I want to do. What do you love? Well, what I love is badminton, and how do you make a career out of it? How do you make money of it? And I don't know if you listen to Jim Mailer's interview, he talks about basically his life surrounded himself around finding a way to finance being able to play badminton as much as you can. And I've interviewed a lot of people that have went to uni and have said that have chosen the university based on how much badminton they could play at university. That's why people went to Loughborough University, because it's renowned for badminton. There's a lorry load of exceptional English and players from all over the UK go to Loughborough because the badminton's awesome, and sport generally is awesome in Loughborough. So isn't it funny? Isn't it interesting that I don't know what other pursuits like that. I don't know what other sport grabs people like that, where they say, "Do you know what? I just love badminton." It just gives you a buzz that nothing else gives you, and how can I play as much of it as I possibly can?
I'm sure it's the same in other sports too. We're just badminton people, so we think nothing else is better than it.
I don't know about that. I've met a lot of different sports people. I don't know about I don't know people that get the passion. And I think I was talking to somebody the week before last and saying that people that play badminton don't just like badminton. People that play badminton love badminton. You either play badminton and absolutely love it, or you don't play it at all. Don't you think?
Oh no, I'm gonna argue. I know lots of people that play badminton that are just in it to get what they can out of the sport. I mean, I'm a guy that will play badminton any level. We're having those jokes on the Facebook page about West of Scotland League badminton or whatever. I mean, I'd go back and play Churchies badminton. I used to go back when I was playing at the highest level in the world, and then still go back and play Churches matches.
Really?
Because, you know, I and even right now, I mean, you want to stay fit and play at a high level, but I mean, I'll go play badminton with anybody.
Yeah.
And there are some of us like that. There's a lot of us that are not like that.
How competitive is it where you are?
It's really hard to I get people all the time wanting to know what's it like in America. It's I don't know how to. I mean,
No. I'm just talking about. Are you happy with the level of competition that you get?
Yeah, but I mean, I've kind of like ended up transitioning out of playing and stuff.
Yes.
So I mean, I ended up going from playing at the highest level in the world to then, I wouldn't say I retired. I kind of got offered a job to coach the best player in the country. Just don't work for anyone else. You're just going to be her personal coach, and go and qualify her for the Rio Olympics.
Wow.
So I ended up, even when I was traveling with her, Iris Wang, I was playing tournaments with her, and I was doing that to keep my sparring level up, because it's great for her to have a high class singles player, except, you know. And then and I ended up finding something that I was better at than playing, because, you know, I think I'm a better coach than I am a player.
That's awesome. But
I ended up kind of inadvertently ending up in that. So even now, somebody was asking, what do you do for training? She's been out of the country, but when she's here, I'll go on court and full out spar with her and train with her, which helps her, but also I'm using it for my own fitness, and it's getting harder and harder to beat her, because she's getting consistent.
Which is the idea, right?
Well, that is the idea. I mean, if I'm doing a good job, she should be offering me 11 points and still beating me, because I'm pretty sure if I played Sindhu and she said, I'll give you 11 in both sets and I'll play you for $2,000, I don't know if I'd take the bet.
I know. It's
I guess I could have my own line judges.
Yeah, amazing.
That's how good, and I say that with the greatest respect for women's singles. And I say it with a little bit of like a dig at our men's singles players. Like, you can get to still a reasonably high level in men's singles in the world by rally avoidance.
Yeah.
You know,
what do you mean by that?
Women's singles, you know, I always, from a coaching point of view, I always describe it as two different types of players that have their games in the wrong order, built the wrong way. There's the players who come at it like, I've got all my shots, and, you know, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm also going to get fit to kind of like shore up my game and to be strong and to be able to go. And then there's the players that come to the court that are, I'm going to have the whole foundation in there. I'm going to be able to win without smashing. I'm going to have, you know, that core there. And then I'm going to have all the shots and the weapons to supplement the game. So the latter can win when they're not playing well.
Yes.
And I you know, and I'll give you an example, because we know it at all levels. You get players that play matches and they'll go, but my racket's not good, and, you know, and this is not working, and they've got all sorts of reasons. And the core idea is, what makes a player good is how good is your default level.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'll give a mention to someone who I first stole that off, and it's Bruce Flockhart. And he said to me, like, you know, how good is your default level? And that I could say that to any player, any level. You know, everybody's good when we play good, but like, you're going to win five matches in a row in a tournament, you've got to be able to struggle. And we start doing what I was doing as a player, and you're in, like, I literally at one point played 14 weekends in a row. I think in 2010, I was playing club matches in Spain. I was going intercontinental to different tournaments. So you're getting off the plane in South Africa, you're number one seed. You're playing some guy who is effectively a club level player, and you're wrecked.
Yes.
And you got to have the maturity to go, right, fuck, right, I'm just going to beat this guy 19 and 19.
Even though you just played yesterday or the day before or the day before that, or
You're traveling and under all these extremes, and then people go, wow, you train so well that you get better at it. No, you're still tired. You just trained your default level so high that, I mean, I could play well and then I could play crap. So if you're trying to qualify for events, you are the sum of your worst points. You get your 10 best results.
It's interesting.
So if you've got like your bottom 5 results are terrible, then your points threshold's taken down. So you're always looking for a high average. Then I traveled with Iris, and we were going at it for like 3-4 years. But in the Olympic qualifying year, we played more Olympic qualifying tournaments than any other player or pair in the world in that cycle. She played 32 or 33 tournaments in 52 weeks. And it's just madness. I mean, it was the first time in my life after. So she qualified. Then we had another 4 months up to Rio. We played more tournaments, and then after Rio, first time in my life, I was like, I don't want to be anywhere near a badminton court. And I've just said to you, I'm a guy who loves badminton,
Yeah.
and I hate it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Well, I didn't hate it. I was just burnt out.
Yeah.
You know, I was literally. You've been living high oxygen life for like a year or 2 years, and then you don't know how to reintegrate back into normal life. But I love badminton, but I was in the badminton hall and I was just like,
here we are again.
So it's tough.
How do you how do you manage life with family and stuff like that when you've got traveling like that?
Well, I wasn't married at that point, but I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife.
Yeah.
And what made it easier is my wife Nancy. She's known Iris since Iris was like 5 years old, because from the same badminton club. So we're all that definitely helps the whole dynamic, because even Iris is like she's like godmother of my daughter. She came to the birth. Like, she's best friends with my wife. So we're a very close unit.
That's critical. If you didn't have that, I wonder what it would be. You know, if you didn't have that relationship and it was just another player, it would be a different thing, wouldn't it?
If I had a child at that point, you know, there needs to be a different way of doing it. And honestly, it wasn't our ideal way of trying to qualify. Iris only played that many tournaments because we were competing against another American player who Iris is better than, but who was just breaking the bank. It was just doing what I would have done to try and qualify. You're not the better player, so you're just going to go to every single tournament and try and get some results. So you have to counter that. You can't just. I said in another interview, I'd have loved it if at the start of January of 2016, with 4 or 5 months left of the qualification, if we could have been going to the tournaments Iris should have been going to, like All England, Swiss, all these. But it's just about the other player and eliminating her from the Olympic qualifying. So I'm like, she's going to go to Peru, she's going to go to Chile. Okay, we're going to Peru, we're going to go to Chile, and we're going to push her down the seedings and beat her.
Wow.
Well, I'm not meaning that even in a dick way. It was out of respect for the fact that as a player that's traveled to lots of tournaments in the same fashion since 2003, I qualified for a World Championships in 2007 when I was not playing well. And I knew my level wasn't good, but I went out and played every tournament on the Oceania circuit, you know, Fiji, Tahiti, Samoa, all these things. And I did it for two reasons. One, because that was a good way to get the points, but also because I also felt this was the way to work my way up some levels so that I could have a ranking, so I could get to a higher level, so I could then train, rather than when I was in the Scottish system around 2002, 2003, it's like sending me out funded to French International. You're getting beat. I got beat in the first round of the French International by Mark Zwiebler, who then qualified and won the tournament. I mean, you're not getting ahead, and I'd still advocate for it right now with any player. Like you gotta get some confidence up and get some wins under your belt. Work your way. We say it even in Scotland. You gotta work your way through the levels before you can get to the next level. And then at the top level in Scotland, certainly when I was playing, it's like, there you go. And maybe there's this attitude, well, you should be good enough to win, but none of us really were good enough to win.
Yeah.
So the men's game in the time period that I was playing, I say it as a coach, it's not the way I would have done it. I mean, we were very focused on the women's side of the game as well, which is also fine. But you know, if all your players are losing and you're not seeing progress, maybe you should change the way you're doing it. But there's an attitude towards you can't go and play all these obscure tournaments because that's ranking point hunting and cheating and I think I could say now, 10 years later, if you look at the World Tour, you've got world-class players playing all over the world because the BWF has developed the game. They've got, you know, if they get the Danish badminton team to turn up in Fiji, that's good for the sport.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, it's a very
I really feel for players when they lose. I really like it, especially at the moment. I mean, I just think, it's a topic that nobody really wants to talk about, losing. But you know, I really feel for players at the moment. There's so much. I mean, I see people staying in hotel rooms and getting tested for COVID, then getting on a flight and then getting picked up from the airport and then getting tested and then going to a hotel and getting tested. And who was it talking the other week on? Hans Vertingos was talking about he had to get a connecting flight he was going to That's it. He was going to the Ukraine. That was it. And he left Denmark, left Copenhagen, and the flight was diverted to Germany. And there's different rules on what the quarantine rules are different to coming in from Germany as it is from Copenhagen. So it was like a whole different set of things that they had to do because the flight had been diverted. And then they eventually arrive in the hotel. They go straight to their room. They get tested. They go straight to their room. They can't leave that said room. And it's like prison. It's like prison. Have you had much experience of that with your player?
Oh yeah, I mean we've got all of our American players right now traveling to tournaments. They're in Guatemala today for the Pan Am individuals. We live in a unique circumstance right now with COVID, and there's all of that going on, and it is what it is.
I think that's what I was going to.
Despite how much harder.
That was what I was going on to say was that when especially like normally you go to a tournament and you fly and. You get to see a place, you get to go to, you're going to the Ukraine, you're going to wherever, you're going to Bulgaria, and you're going all around the world and seeing places, and you're not even getting to see it. You're not even getting the benefit of actually going to a restaurant, of going to a bar, to seeing a culture, seeing a people, seeing, oh, well, I lost, but I went for a nice walk and I saw, I got to see. You're literally leaving the hotel and going back to the airport. It's just brutal, is it?
I gotta still be me though and say I don't want to hear people complaining about it because they're still lucky for what they do. What you've just described is the same in every other country, even if you weren't going to the tournaments. I mean, sure, it's tough. I'm not discounting that, but we also live in how many million are dead? How many people are out of work? Yeah, no time.
Yeah, you're right. It's only badminton. No, I think the point I was trying to make was that people are having to make particularly large efforts to go to these tournaments to get tested. And I saw Jordan Hart went to. I can't remember. She came over to the All England from Poland, and they go through all the tests. And she's been doing a kind of a blog saying, "Oh, I got to the hotel and this is the room and la 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 la." And she got into the hall and then she played her first game and got knocked out and was sent home. And it's like, oh my god, it's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's no different. Like even without pre-COVID, I mean, you're flying to tournaments and you're getting on to the next tournament. I mean, a lot of the players even when they're traveling before COVID, there's not a lot of. I mean, the professional ones are not out and going sightseeing all the time. I mean, I tell you, the moment I lose at a tournament, the last place I want to be is in that country.
Is it?
Because I'm more. Oh, yeah, because I'm not a tourist.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to merge it all because I did try to tell myself all the time, no matter how hard it is, I'm very lucky to what I do, especially all the countries I've been in the world. But you also got a job to do.
Countries, but if you're not doing anything in those countries, what's the point? You say I get to travel to all of these countries, but actually, frankly, you're just going there, playing in a tournament, and flying home again.
Well, what's the point? The point is it's your job, and you're still very lucky to be managed. I mean, you still get a bit of these
you eat and
countries
stuff. Yeah, of course.
Find some time. You still get to go out and wander, but I'm just saying from an athlete point of view, the ones with their heads generally in the right place aren't there to sightsee. They might get a bit of culture. And when I travel with Iris, we always had this thing about trying to go and get coffee somewhere. Yeah. We would do something like that, always get out, go for a wander. So I'm not saying we didn't get any, but I'm telling you, if you lose in a tournament, the last place you want to be is in that country. Mm-hmm. We change flights, we're done. Because you're trying to qualify for Olympics, or you're really serious about your goals and your ambitions. So you're talking about losing is tough on people, but losing is also very much part of
it's a good lesson.
You can't accept losing.
I definitely totally agree with that. And what can you explain that to me? I mean, I don't really understand that. So. Let's say you enter a tournament and then you say, okay, I'm going to go and stay in that hotel, and you say, okay, I might be staying a night or I might be staying a week. How does that work? You just say to a hotel, I might be there for a week or I might be there for one night, and they're okay with that. What happens with that?
Well, I mean, you depend. I mean, most of the time when I was traveling, you could check out whenever you wanted and just pay for
how many nights you stayed.
I mean, and you're traveling on a budget, and you really are traveling on a tight budget. And then we always joke. I used to joke anyway. Like it's a good problem when you actually do better in the tournament than you planned. Yeah. and then you have to change your flight and stay and find another hotel. I mean, I would regularly, be booking. I wouldn't be booking hotels to the end of the tournament.
Yeah.
And if I won, I would try and get somewhere else to stay or whatever. And even I'm traveling with Iris, who was winning tournaments. I mean, depending on the tournament, if it's a super series, we're not booking a flight to the Sunday. We're not saying we're here from Tuesday to Sunday. We were booking flights out of there on Friday, because you've got to get to your next tournament, and you've got to also recover from that current tournament and get back into training. Because if you really
what does that do for your brain?
That's what you do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm so direct about it. What does it do for your brain? I mean, again, this is the job.
Yeah.
It's not the worst job in the world, man.
Yeah, I guess it is what it is, and that is what. But I am genuinely, all of that stuff is really interesting to me. Like thinking of, I'm quite interested in the psychology of it. I'm quite interested in money. I'm quite interested in the pressures of money coming to badminton and to being on court and thinking, I need to win this for the money kind of thing. And does that start to affect your game and all of those things?
I don't think badminton players are generally playing and thinking they need a win for the money, because the money's so small that they're always playing for the ranking points. No, there's no money in the sport. Nobody's making money. And top 16 are making money.
Everybody else isn't. Yeah.
You go and look at the prize funds. Like Iris gets last 16 in Thailand, the Super Series 1000. I mean, two weeks in a row, and I think she makes, I don't know, 6,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's last 16. So it's not even comparable. So how much do your flight cost? How much do your accommodation cost? How much does your mortgage cost if you have one at home? So, I mean, if you can get through a season and you manage to not lose money, and I had like maybe 1.5 seasons in my entire playing career where I didn't lose money, in the sense of all the money I was making playing professional club matches in Spain, I just put it straight back into the sport. All the money that I'd maybe made and saved up from a particular job, I just put it all straight back into badminton. It's terrifying for my parents, but at least I wasn't at that point living off my parents.
Yeah, you were self-sufficient.
But you're not. I mean, this idea, I get it all the time. People are like, "Well, but I want to get paid, and I want my sponsors to give me that." I mean, I'm the first person to argue that we're not funding the players the right way, that there should be more money in the sport. But I'm also the first person that gets annoyed at people that are entitled and think that, I'm not going to play if it's not going to happen, because the reality is there isn't a lot of money in our sport until the structure changes with the BWF and they actually get the money to the players, or the players argue for it. And for me, not playing badminton was never an option. I just found a way to keep going. But, so there's both. I mean, I argue for both situations, but people whining or like, oh, this is bad, they are right. But it also is what it is. And in the sport, we are still tennis in the 1960s and 70s.
And what's the sponsorship like where you've been? Have you had any good experience of sponsorships? Of people being sponsored or teams being sponsored or general sponsorships? Yeah.
Me personally?
Yeah, just generally. I'm just interested in, I mean, I know I've done a little bit of looking at Denmark, and I've spoken to the head of sponsorships for Danish badminton, who deals with the NISA and these things, and he's explained to me why they sponsor it and all that kind of stuff. And do you have any experience of any, like, do you have, how do your players go about? Do they self-fund, or do they go and look for sponsorships, or does it? What's your experience of sponsors? Yeah, commercial.
I mean, players are doing the same thing that you just described. Jim Mailer, I said he was doing, and the same thing that I've just described I was doing. You got to hustle and find ways to make money or not lose money. There's not a lot of sponsorship. I would go as far as saying it's atrocious.
I agree.
Worldwide.
I agree.
And it's because the way our sport is structured, and the players don't realize that they have all the power if they decided to actually group together and collectively bargain. Because if the players all grouped together and said, we're not playing unless we get more money, their money's actually in the sport. I mean, there's a huge amount of money at the World Federation level that is just, in my opinion, not filtering down. As the Indonesian Open, I mean, there's one sponsor alone gave 3.1 million.
Oh, really?
I mean, BCA. I mean, there's loads of money in the sport, in my opinion. And you go and look at the BWF, you can't even see a transparent breakdown of their finances. They're not publicly available.
Really?
So the players deserve more money, but at the same time, the players also need to
Well,
They
I'm
need
in
to
commercial
get
sales, and
film.
I know. I mean, you see sponsorships going on, and kind of, I don't think there's anybody selling it very well. If I'm honest with you, I don't think there's anybody selling it to the commercial sector very well. In most areas, certainly not in Scotland. And I had a conversation with Alan Martin, who's in charge of archery in Scotland. And they have that same problem. Players want to get sponsored, and just badminton players are brought up. You start playing it nowadays at 12, 13-year old, and you're on a roller coaster until you're in your mid-20s. You know what it's like. You find a love for it, you get a talent for it, and you're on a roller coaster. But nobody teaches you commercials. Nobody teaches you how to. Somebody says, okay, you
Well,
need to write to business and see if you can get sponsorship. Nobody teaches them how to do that. Nobody knows.
I'll give you an interesting analogy. I had a conversation with a major company last week, talking about stuff, and the guy gave a very, I thought, actually quite an interesting analogy. In the past, I've got coaches and talk about how much money they were making in the 80s and the 90s, and there was more money, right? And this major company said, you know what the difference was back then? There was no internet. So if you were in Canada, I mean, he used an example, Black Knight as a company. They were literally paying people a lot of money, because the only people you would see on a domestic level would be the people you would see at tournaments. I mean, then it made a lot of sense to have all these people, the influencers, actually using the rackets. But then the internet comes along. This is what the guy says, and everyone goes, "Oh, there's Lin Dan, and there's Lee Chong Wei," and it devalued the amount of money that you could get on a domestic level, because the marketing ability that you have as a domestic player has been taken away from you because of the advent of the internet and just how much now you can view. You see the point that I'm making, that as an individual, in the UK,
because everybody sees the
the
big people and say you're just such a small fish. Unless you're the top 16, you're not worth investing in.
By your own default in your own country, a major influencer, because the only way to see what people were using was to go to tournaments or to see the guys in the clubs, and those people using those rackets and being sponsored by Carrollton or whatever it was could influence you back to the local pro shop. And now we have Amazon, we have online sales, and we have a large amount of scope. So that, I think that's a very interesting analogy about why the players themselves just don't have the marketable value that they had before.
It comes from outside. I think Denmark is a particularly good example. I always look at Denisa, and I think, right, okay, have you ever looked at Denisa? They make biscuits, butter biscuits, right? They're a massive manufacturer of biscuits, right? Which is probably one of the unhealthiest things you could probably have. Is this, complete lack. And when I spoke to Jesper, who's the head of the sponsorships in Denmark, I asked him why. Why would they do that? Why would a biscuit company sponsor badminton? He said, because the second largest producer of biscuits in the world is Asia. And we know that the Danish players go to Asia a lot, and they will be seen on TV a lot in Asia. So it makes sense for them to sponsor the Danish badminton team. And that's the kind of thing,
I think the other thing that we're escaping a little bit here is that Denmark is, if you could use other example, I mean, Denmark has a lot of visual on the players. I mean, it's a huge sport in Denmark. It's on the news. They're getting all that as well. So, I mean, it makes a company like Danisa think, like we're kind of insulated here. We're still going to have, it's a big sport in Denmark. It's a big sport in Denmark with a lot of TV. You don't get domestic TV in Scotland for badminton.
It's a big thing. I mean, I think it's for me. I think it's like what was I going to say that? I just think that, I mean, he in fairness to him, he says that he said they've had struggles like this year, particularly last year, kind of thing. They have struggled. What I was going to say is it's like a chicken and an egg. There's no money in badminton because there's not enough coverage of it, and there's not enough coverage on it because there's not enough money in it. And it goes on, and it perpetuates the problem. And I think that is a thing. But I think that, in truth, I believe that there is somebody should be teaching people how to make money from because it has a lot of common factors: very clean living people, very competitive people, very hardworking people, and these things are things in business, right? Businesses have that.
But surely that also comes from the top down. So when you have get a little controversial here, the BWF, should I say, gives up?
Yes.
We're not getting TV. We got TV in some places, but we have basically focused. The World Federation's focused on YouTube, which is free.
Yes. Sorry.
So it's great. It's great for you and I as a viewer to be able to view these events on YouTube. And of course, to be fair, if a regional country has a TV deal as well, then the YouTube is blocked for that tournament in that country. I mean, it's fair to say that, but we also, I'm just saying, kind of impartially or independently, we are a sport that has tried to focus our TV on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's something, just being a dick, there's something not right about that.
Yeah,
it's great for us. I watch TV in January, and great, and the quality of it, I think, is great. I mean, the BWF's doing a good job with the quality of the filming and the commentators, but you don't see other sports focusing their TV strategy on YouTube.
Yeah,
and I think settled for it, or maybe it's a hybrid approach, and hopefully the BWF, and I don't know this, are trying to really get the TV rights in all the countries. But of course, that's the end solution. You want NBC showing badminton in the US, and you want the BBC showing it in the UK. So I'm sure smart people are still fighting for that. I hope they are.
Yeah, I think I might do something on that commercial side of things. I really feel like I think I could add something. I think I could help people individually go to market themselves for sponsorship with local. You don't need to be a world-class player, but you just need to, if you represent somebody local to where you live, for example, then I just think there will be businesses local to those people, and nobody's really teaching them how to pitch. And I think I could do a bit of that, to be honest with you. I might try a bit of that. I've already thought of some people who, in Scotland, obviously, there's a lot of people that, they can't afford to, they're working and they're doing X, Y, and Z, just as you say, really. And it's
but you have to offer more. When I had a very good deal with Carrollton, beyond what I think my level was. Other players better than me didn't have the deal I had, but I was more. I'm going to Carrollton and I'm saying, right, I'm in Spain. I will sell shuttles for you to the clubs. I will make. I mean, and then I facilitate
really?
large shuttlecock orders, and it's just smart, because they're like, okay, this guy is actually generating revenue.
Good. Yeah.
But again, I'll say to you again, maybe you're right as well. The pitch is that we need to educate people to think a bit more like
definitely
this.
Commercial.
But the problem, Martin, is that everybody thinks they're worth more than they actually are.
Right, as a gift, just because someone should give it to them.
Out of their heads. They really do. That's the first thing I say to everybody. You got to offer more, and I try to coach it into them and say, look at it this way. Everyone else has got the attitude that you're coming with and is getting it wrong. You could actually get a larger piece of the pie if you came about it in a different way, like the way I described with Carrollton. So then I facilitate sales, and they're like, in my mind, they're like, holy shit, right? What do you want? Boom, there you go, 10 rackets. You're in New Zealand, we'll send you 10 rackets. I mean, they didn't care. It was value to them because there's a cost-benefit analysis.
Yeah, I think that's
people don't have that way of thinking. Is that also, Martin? Because people aren't educated.
But I think the thing is that the thing that you've got, like I said to you, is you've got to remember is they've come from 10 years old, with talent and ability, and then somebody said, God, you could be good. 10. Think about being 10. Think about being 12 and 13, and somebody's, you're on this roller coaster where you're getting coached and trained 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week. You're playing badminton, and when did you learn? When did you learn how to have a commercial brain? You didn't. You're a badminton player. That's all you've learned, and you're just incredible. They're like children at 25 years old.
The other way to, I guess, solve that is if you're using tennis as an example. There's a lot more money in the sport, so the actual athletes themselves have a lot more money. So they use that money to have teams of people around them that know how to do it right, and agents.
Yes.
And you could maybe say the same thing you just said about badminton, about the same players playing in tennis. They've probably been playing tennis since they were 10 and they didn't learn it. But when you're Andy Murray and you're doing phenomenally well and you're making money and you're literally paying for a chef to travel around the world with you and put meals in your hand, I mean, you have the resources and the team around you to be able to make money off you to help you be good.
Yeah, that's so true.
We don't have that.
That's so true. Anyway, listen, I'll let you get on with your night. I've got all these questions. I haven't asked any of your questions, but I'm gonna come back to you and speak to you again if that's all right. Because we've already been on. Sure. We've been on for an hour 40. 50 minutes. 50 minutes we've chatted. It's incredible. I've really enjoyed it, Alistair. Thank you. It's been really great.
Let's continue.
Yeah, we'll just we'll come back. We'll come back again. Maybe next weekend. Are you still there?
Sure.
Maybe next week. The same time next weekend's good for me. That's yeah, it's same time next weekend. And next time I promise to ask you some questions. But I've really enjoyed the chat anyway. I'm happy with that. I don't want to distract because I've loved that.
Yeah. You might make your viewers want to kill themselves if they see too much.
Not at all. Well, next time I should have got you to hang up, turn your video off and back on again, because you've been on freeze. But it's fine. It's a nice image. To be fair, it's a nice image, Alistair. Is that Alistair or Ali? Can I call it Ali? I know a lot of Alistairs I call Ali.
No.
Do you not like that?
Alistair's fine.
Alistair's, that's good. Okay. Good. Thank you, Alistair. Have a great night. Enjoy the sun. Is it still sunny? It hasn't moved. Is it still sunny?
You can see it's sunny.
Can't.
Can you not see the other? Are you totally frozen?
Yeah, it's okay. Just turn your video off and on again. Turn your video off and on again, will you, on Skype? Turn your camera off and on. See if it brings it back.
Doing it. Are we off?
No, it's still there, actually. Doesn't matter, it's fine. We'll get it next time. Have a great evening. Yes, because it's now, what time is that now? Is it 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock, is it?
4:15.
Yeah, 4:15. Right, have a great night. Take care. I'll speak soon. I'll see you next weekend. Well, it's a very interesting debate. Very interesting discussion about money in badminton. Problems around the world, and yeah, finding out where he's been and what he's been up to. It's great. Anyway, same time next week. That was really good. Okay, take care. Have a good evening, and speak soon.